to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Rob. We got a big old laundry list of names to talk about today.
Well, we have so much to talk about, and we're going to have so much fun here having Rob phonetically spell out these people's names. It's bad when I'm like Googling, how do I pronounce this name? Like, that's literally what I was doing early at night. Like, I'm not the best at it, I admit it freely, but it's like, I go into this going, okay, maybe one name I might have some trouble with. No, we got a lot of names I had to look at today. But we got a lot of news to go over there with you guys. So we're going to go over, of course, the news on our news signing. We talked about we might sign somebody here with some of this money that we got left over from the Darren Waller retirement here. And, of course, it looks like we're already signed somebody here. It's got a new corner we're going to talk about there. We got Minicamp talk about the last 2 days. We got also talk about the some injuries. We had some injuries. It's not a Giants outing of any kind without some injuries. Yeah.
Pretty much.
God forbid we stay healthy for 2 days. That's just asking too much.
Listen, they don't have pool parties because everyone eats too much and goes in the pool.
Maybe we should have pool parties. Maybe that would stop the injuries to workouts in the pool. And then we got some guys who worked out. Speaking of workouts, so we got a couple of guys who brought in. We haven't signed them, but you never know what's going to happen there. So we want to at least make sure you guys are aware of who they are and what's going on there, because you can also tell what's going on with the team based on who they bring in for workouts. Gives you a heads up on who they might be a little disappointed in. And then, of course, we talked about a former Giant on the last episode, maybe getting back into the NFL. And, of course, he had a workout this week here. So a lot to go over with you guys here. Let's start her off here. Get those engines revved up here. There we go. That's much better. Giants made their signing here with Tre Herndon III, Esquire. I feel like anytime you get past junior, you have to put Esquire at the end. Like, I don't know why. His actual name is Willie. They call him Tre because of the fact that he is the third. So was brought in for a workout initially with the team there early this week, and they signed him today, the 12th here. So 5'11", 190 pounds, 28 years old. So veteran, but still a little youngish, where he's not, got some miles left in those tires there. Originally an undrafted rookie free agent for the Jaguars in 2018 out of Vanderbilt. So he's got some kind of brain on his shoulders. That's for damn sure. That's a prestigious school,
to say the least.
Yeah. An SEC school too. It's one of the rarities, like a school that's known for having smarty pants, but also in a decent athletic conference where they get some athletic people as well. Last year, 16 games, 4 starts, 46 tackles, 9 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits, which is actually half his career total. So be interesting if we can get a chance to talk to somebody who covers the Jags to see if he was used in blitzing more often or just happened to have a little more luck or what the deal was. A 70.8 PFF grade, so not too shabby. I look at his numbers, and who he reminds me a lot of, actually, numbers-wise at least, not necessarily playing style, but numbers-wise, reminds me a lot of Nick McLeod.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's very similar numbers. We got to watch a little more tape on him. The signing just happened tonight, so we'll probably do a little more of that later on. Career-wise, 6 years now in the league, all with Jacksonville, 83 games, 34 starts. So, like I said, got some experience under his belt there. You got an earthquake going on there, Rob?
A little bit.
He's like adjusting his camera. So, initially, he signed a 3-year contract with the Jaguars. He then proceeded to sign 3 one-year contracts with the team. Which, to be honest, I don't know how to take that. It's kind of like, I guess we'll take you again.
Slayton.
Yeah. Like, I guess we'll take you again, but we like what you do, but we don't love what you do. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, if they really, really liked him, they would sign him to a multi-year contract. If they didn't like him, they wouldn't keep re-signing him. That's why I'm like, I don't know what to take of that. I found a nice article from the Florida Times Union, which runs Jacksonville.com. They had an article entitled 2024 Jaguars Free Agency. Here's who the team can afford to let go this offseason. And there he was, Tre Herndon III. He said, Herndon is a valuable player with versatility. He played both inside and outside a corner and nickel back throughout his career. Not to look at this photograph, nickel back for the record of the position. I don't know if he played nickel back in the locker room or not. Over the 2 seasons, Herndon has played primarily inside and started much of last inside at nickel, playing primarily on passing downs towards the end of the year. So interesting because, again, I like to kind of read the tea leaves here of what's going on with players when we sign new people. So we signed a guy that's got some experience. I read into that, go, okay, maybe they don't like the fact that this team is so young in the corners. I mean, it's really, really young. I mean, we have like one person who's a semi-veteran in David Long, who really hasn't played much of this league, been more of a practice backup kind of guy. And even that was like 6 years in the league. So same as this guy, we've got two guys with 6 years. It's not like we have one guy that's like 30 years old and been around forever, unless you want to count Jalen Mills, who's converted to safety. But yeah, I look at that, but I also look at the fact that he played inside on nickel, and played at the slot corner position there. Does that say maybe they're not happy with the depth of people that are playing at inside nickel, dime packages? Does this say that they're not happy necessarily with who's playing the slot corner, which we've been hearing is going to be Andrew Phillips, the rookie third rounder there. I wouldn't go that far to say he's starting slot corner, but it definitely tells you they're not happy with some of the depth. They're not happy with some of what they've seen when they've had to put multiple corners out there, get some going those dime and nickel packages. So without saying specifically who, because I don't know who, it's not like they're going to tell us that. They obviously don't like something they saw. And this is a guy that I've seen a lot of people go camp body. They're already doing this on Facebook and all the articles I've seen people commenting because he got paid like nothing and was around for a little while. He also did not have a very good year last year as far as, completion percentages when thrown to. Gave up a few touchdowns as well. But that's not been his career, guys. And you got to look at that and go, okay, that might have been an off year. That might have been something they changed on the defense with him at that point. This is the guy who literally stepped in when Jalen Ramsey got hurt a couple of years ago and started for them at corner. So, he's got some good experience overall. And nothing wrong with bringing in a guy that's cheap, got some, time served here in the league, and hasn't embarrassed himself. Again, you're not going to get guys that are all pros in the middle of June. That's not going to happen, guys.
It would have been long gone.
We said we wanted to upgrade. We've said it multiple times. This is an upgrade. Is it an upgrade at a starting position? We'll see. But at least it's an upgrade. At the very least, it's a depth piece upgrade. And, we need to do that. I know everybody wants Stephon Gilmore. I know everybody keeps saying it. Stephon Gilmore. Why would Stephon Gilmore want to come here? Honestly, guys.
Yeah.
This is about the money, and we throw them a lot of money. You got to realize, guys, we are not the Chiefs. We're not the team that everybody wants to play for to maybe chase a ring towards the end of their career. Veterans don't want to play teams that are projected against 6-7 wins. That's what a lot of people are saying we're going to get. Do I agree with that? It's possible, but I think we're
undefeated, baby. Let's go.
They're undervaluing, I think, what this team is. Let's be honest, it's mostly because everybody hates DJ, but in the end,
pretty much.
A big time veteran like Stephon Gilmore probably doesn't want to come here. So you get what you can get. And you get a nice depth piece. You get some veteran leadership into that room. It's not a bad move, guys. Anybody who hates this move is just upset we didn't get a guy like Gilmore. And not every move is going to be a home run. Sometimes it's a walk. Sometimes it's a single. Maybe it's a double.
Sometimes it's a strikeout.
Yes. Because it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. But it's like that's
old free agent scheme.
But that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And I feel like Giant fans got to get a little more realistic. Like, really, we do. All of us. Because we're not the Giants of old right now. We're not thought of highly in the league. Let's be very frank with that. Like, there's people that like Dable and Shane, but they don't necessarily like what the team is right now. They think it's a work in progress. So if I'm a guy who's got 1 or 2 more years left and I'm chasing a ring, I'm not going to the Giants.
No, I mean, let's be real. Like you said, we're not the Kansas City Chiefs. We're not the Buffalo Bills. We're not, a team that's pretty close. It just
we're kind of like the Buffalo Bills. We've had a lot of ex-Bills on the team.
This is true, but the scrub of ex-Bills.
We're like the Wish version of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. It's Timu now.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't even know. Is it Is Wish Timu? Is that what it is? I missed it. I thought it was two separate.
I think
things.
Wish is. It is, but I think Wish is gone. I think it's Timu
okay.
now.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, Timu is the new chief thing.
They've rebranded. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's get into the minicamp talk here because we've been talking OTA, and now it's time for a little minicamp there.
It's so tiny.
What's cool is the picture too. That's the big thing is on the top hand on the left hand side for those guys watching video here. The Giants wide receivers Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, and Malik Neighbors got together and reenacted the Spider-Man meme, the famous Spider-Man meme. If you don't know what it is, just Google Spider-Man meme; it'll come right up. It's kind of a big thing for us going over social media. I liked it because you know what the big thing for me I liked about it is that they're doing something together.
Exactly, and they're having fun doing it.
We want those three to get along and work together as a unit. We really do. Like that's key. So the fact that they're already doing something like that together, and I don't know if it was scripted or not. I mean, but the fact that they're already doing something together like that tells you that these guys are getting along.
Yeah,
you don't celebrate with people that you don't really like that are just coworkers. You don't want to really deal with, but you kind of have to.
Yeah,
we all have those coworkers. We all do. Everybody thinks everybody in the team gets along. That's not the way it works. It's just like your job. There's people you have to work with you may not like. That's life.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
You get bosses sometimes you don't like.
Yeah, seriously. No, nobody works for me likes me, that's for sure. But so let's go over a little bit of the who didn't practice here. So that's a big talk here. Right tackle Evan Neal with the ankle injury from last year did not practice. We're going to go over him in a little bit. There we go over the injuries in a different segment there. Cornerback Aaron Robinson with a knee continued to miss practice there. No news there. That's pretty much par for the course. Wide receiver, kick returner Gunnar Olszewski, who was injured early during the OTAs, also missed practice. Tight end Daniel Bellinger did not do any work with the team periods, but insisted after practice he is not injured, which I thought was a little weird. Why hold him out? But it's got to be a reason. It's got to be a reason. But we have no clue. Daniel Jones didn't do any work during the 11-11 series out of precaution. Obviously, he's coming off that ACL injury from last season there. Let him get healthy fully. You guys get 6 weeks before the next camp year. That's when training camp opens up. So why rush it when you know you're not going to see him for 6 weeks? You think him having 1 or 2 practices is going to help him that much? That's more for the young guys. More for the young guys, and more so you can see the guys that you need to make opinions on. That's where it's important for. Daniel Jones is not going anywhere, and Daniel Jones has been with this team for multiple years now. Injured during the practice, and we're going to go over all these guys also in a separate segment here in a little bit, but Darius Slayton, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, and Chase Cota. So a lot of wide receivers. Not so wide on the receivers anymore.
Nope.
Getting a little thin there. Now, most of the action we have really, guys, is for Monday. Today, the 12th there, we had the second day of minicamp. It was a very light workout. It really was. It was a lot more media talk and stuff like that. So during the drills, Daniel Jones got most of the reps at QB with the skills players. Obviously, again, he didn't do workouts during the 11-11, so it makes sense to get him a little time with the players then. Offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo spent a lot of time with combo blocks as he wanted to build up chemistry with the groups. Obviously, a lot of new faces on that group there, a lot of underperforming faces from last year's roster as well. Brasillo worked specifically with the tackles and the tight ends, while assistant O-line coach James Ferentz worked with the guards and the centers. They practice moving in sync during zone runs and combo blocking a defensive lineman. So, I like that they're doing that, though. I really do, because we've had issues with stunts left and right. So the fact that we're working and trying to get these guys working together as duos and making them used to working next to each other and seeing what they do to each other at that point so they kind of know where to play off each other, that's key.
Yeah,
you didn't hear a lot about that with Bobby Johnson when he was in there as an offensive line coach. That's not to say they never did it, but I don't remember that ever being emphasized like, hey, they spent a lot of time on this during any of the practice in the camps. It was more like last year. It was like, hey, we're switching this up. We're switching that up. We're switching this up. And then they wonder why they can't get consistency.
They're just plugging and playing. That's all they were doing.
Yeah, like you want to get whatever you think the best line is, and you want to go ahead and try to get them working together as much as you can this offseason. Again, especially with all the new faces. Keep in mind, we're going to have 2 new guards. So both sides of the line are going to have a new player. And we very well may have a new right tackle. We're hoping. We're praying.
Yeah.
Keep going like this.
Yeah. Please.
Or at least that Evan Neal becomes Evan Neal we thought he was going to be out of college. I'll be happy with that too, don't get me wrong. I'll still always hold a little bit of a grudge for the flipping and burger comment he made, but I don't like everyone players disrespect fans. Like, we're allowed to be upset. We pay your bills, basically.
We 100% pay their bills.
If we don't watch you guys and we don't pay for merchandise, you guys don't get a salary. So show a little respect. We pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when a mayor or like a town councilman or senator or something like that goes, oh, I don't have time to talk to my constituents. God damn it, we put you there. It's kind of the same exact thing. Like, we put these guys at these pedestal and these positions to make money and make a living playing football. Respect that. Anyway, get off my soapbox here. Anyway, the tackles also worked with the tight ends, with the drills focusing on tight ends chipping a defensive end to block in tandem with the tackles. I like that too as well, because we got guys now. We've talked about it before. Bellinger and Theo Johnson both are guys who can catch the ball if need be. Theo Johnson probably a little better than Daniel Bellinger is that. We'll see how much better as the season goes on, since he's a rookie. But if you're going to send these guys out on routes, yeah, chipping can be huge, guys. Absolutely huge. Because especially on the right side, if Evan Neal is there, he might need a little help. But even Andrew Thomas, as much as I'm a huge fan of Andrew Thomas's work and all, that doesn't mean you can't give him a little help so often, especially when he's playing against, a guy like Micah Parsons or something like that. There's nothing wrong with giving him a little chip shot as you're going out for a route and helping Thomas out.
Not at all.
Just because he's a really good player doesn't mean you take advantage of that. We talked about jobs before. It's almost like when you're the best one at your job and they keep piling more work on you. Like, you don't want to make Andrew Thomas feel like that.
No. But, I mean, I'm sure he wants that offensive line to be good. And I know what you're saying, and DJ upright, but, like, I'm sure he'll take on some extra work. But at the same time,
to help.
But at the same time, when you're going against Micah Parsons, like, you want as much help as you can get.
You think when we play the Browns, he might want to help there? I mean,
yeah, right. Maybe.
He's playing some top guys this year. So, anyway, on the 11-11 drills there. So the started with a completion from Drew Lock over to Malik Neighbors on Monday, and then a scramble. Wan'Dale Robinson caught a nice ball over the middle and then pulled away from the defense for what would have been probably about a 50-yard, completion touchdown combo, depending on, what would have happened if they didn't stop and blow the whistle there. Tommy DeVito hit Bryce Ford Wheaton on a deep crosser route. Elijah Chapman, though, we got to mention, got into the backfield, and that may have ended the play on a sack before the ball was overthrown. Again, I keep on. It's horrible when you look at this stuff. Same as the OTAs. It's a love-hate thing, because it's like, I love that a guy got in the backfield and could have got to the quarterback, but I also hate that a guy got in the backfield and could have got to the quarterback. It's like, both sides of the ball play for us. So it's like, whenever somebody does something good, that means somebody else did something bad. Nathan Rourke got 2 passes knocked down by Caleb Hayes. During a no huddle period, the defense was pretty strong and able to force the offense to throw the ball away a few times. During red zone drills, the defense seemed to win the round. Cordell Flott prevented a completion. Boogie Basham got into the backfield. Now, I got to say,
he's getting back there quite a few times.
I say exactly. There's a lot of reports, and listen, there's one of two scenarios going on. Either the Giants are trying to beef up his value because they might want to trade him if they don't think he's going to make the roster, or he's stepped it up a little bit this year. I'm really hoping it's the latter, obviously, because we're a little thin at that edge position there once you get past the big three. Obviously you got Kayvon and Brian Burns there. Aziz, when he's healthy, is good, but past that, we're counting on Boogie. We're counting on Timon Fox. Like, we're counting on people that you don't really want to have to count on. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Brian Burns, though, speaking of him there, also got in the backfield, also disrupted a pass play. During team drills, Deontay Banks had great coverage on Jalen Hyatt on a deep route. Again, that's another love-hate thing. Because Hyatt's a guy I really want to see step up this year. I would love to see him take a nice and we've all talked about it before the show enough. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, but Darius Slayton we're big fans of. But if he's not in the future plans, I would prefer Jalen Hyatt beats him and leapfrogs him in the depth chart. May not be what's best for Slayton, but it's what's best for the Giants.
Correct.
At least in the long term there. But you're hearing a lot of like this person kept up with Jalen Hyatt. This person kept up with Jalen Hyatt this route. Jalen Hyatt, his big thing is speed. If he can't create separation, then that's an issue. That's why you get a speedy guy. Elijah Riley knocked the ball away there. Drew Phillips had the play of the whole minicamp there. Got a nice interception off the hands of Dennis Houston there, the wide receiver formerly of Dallas. Jalen Hyatt at least gives you some positive news. We talked a little about him a minute ago. Caught a nice long pass down the sideline, which would have been a touchdown basically in a regular game if they hadn't blown the whistle. Theo Johnson did catch a touchdown from Tommy DeVito. So, yeah, had some
a little sauce on it.
A little sauce on it.
Yeah.
So, but again, guys, the last 2 days are basically like a glorified OTA with a little more contact. That's all a minicamp is. Pretty
much.
Yeah. So, I'm not going to give you the ooh and the ah and go over this stuff. It's basically underwear Olympics with a little more contact. It's not that much different. So, again, take everything you hear with a grain of salt because everybody that pretty much reports on this stuff has an agenda of some kind. So we just give you what the Giants give us, directly, and then let you kind of give you a little bit of what we think that might say. But, in the end, nothing matters until you actually get live action at that point with the full,
look at last year
at that point there against another team. I'm more curious to see what the joint practices when that kind of stuff happens. If we get smacked by the Lions again in joint practices, then we ticked off.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into these injuries because we got some injuries to talk about already. It's early, I know, but the first injury we got to talk about here is with the burger flipper himself, Evan Neal.
Forearm.
Yeah. Evan Neal. And you see there's Evan Neal with a nice little bicycle there on the right-hand side. We got to talk about the bicycle here because that's all he did this minicamp was he rode an exercise bike. Brian Dable said that Neal would not practice until training camp next month. When asked about it, he said they backed off. That's the exact words, backed off Neal, who underwent ankle surgery in early January, but it's unknown if he suffered a setback. I got to imagine he suffered a setback.
Yeah, why else would he be on the bike?
As Joe 2 times says, Evan is going to hold this team back. Listen, Evan's not. First off, let me be very clear. Evan's not going to hold the team back. Dable and Shane are going to hold the team back if they keep playing him if he plays like crap or he's not healthy. We have Jermaine Illuminor, who very well can step in at right tackle, probably play a whole lot better than Evan Neal, unless we finally get the Evan Neal we thought we're getting when we drafted him. But I got to imagine he actually is. Not as he set back, but maybe he's a little more sore than he realized. Something's going on with that ankle still. I got to imagine that. Or why else would you have him on an exercise bike all day?
Yeah.
From what I heard from the media guys, he was out with the team twice during the practice, the last practice here today, and that's it. They kind of kept away from media, kind of kept away with the rest of the team even. He's just sitting there going on that exercise bike, trying to get that little dog.
Get you, my pretty.
But yeah, something's got to be going on because when you say backed off, like that means now that we're lightening the load we expected to give him. That's what that means.
Correct.
I don't want to put words in Dable's mouth there, but that's what I'm translating that to at least. So either there's a setback or he's sore than he thought he would have been from what he's dealing with. And again, got 6 weeks coming up, guys. Don't risk getting somebody injured. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. Just so you can have a couple of practices.
Show off for the media.
Yeah, for a guy that's been in the league now for a couple of years, was here last year with the same offensive coaching staff at least. Like he knows the offense. He better know the offense at least. Goddamn.
Hopefully. It's another problem if he doesn't.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, so Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on Evan Neal. Listen, in the end, he's still a Giant. We hope he gets healthy. We hope he becomes the player we thought he was. But in the end, it might not be the worst thing if he can't play. It may not be. It may not be. So.
You may not be wrong.
Yeah, you may be right. I may be crazy.
I may be crazy. But it just might be Evan Neal that you're looking for.
No, it's definitely not Evan Neal.
Probably not.
Definitely not. Let's get to the next injury here. So Chase Cota, who, let's be honest, probably got signed by the Giants because of the fact that he blew us up in preseason last year. Got injured there during the first day of practice, has a fractured collarbone there. So yeah, it's kind of an odd injury there. But yeah, that's where he's at. Carted off the field Tuesday during the minicamp there with that. Recovery time, they say, is typically 6 to 12 weeks for such an injury. Now, that's a pretty broad brush we're putting that there, So 6 weeks would put him right at the start of training camp. As we said, it's about 6 weeks away. 12 weeks would put him at the start of the regular season. So, yeah, keep in mind, an injury obviously makes it an uphill battle to make the roster when you're already a fringe player like Cota. But if you don't make, if you're not making training camp and the preseason games, and
he needs to,
you're not going to make and that sucks. Like, that's just bad luck. But sometimes careers are made or lost by luck. That's part of the game, unfortunately, guys. I hate to say it that way so casually, but it's the truth. I can't imagine this bodes well for him making the squad. I really can't. I really think, from everything I'm hearing, even if this was like during like the preseason itself, like a couple weeks away from the start of the season, they probably would have just popped him on the IR at that point and ended his year. That's what a couple of the guys in the media that were there were saying. Like, he's kind of not like he's going to make the roster anyway. Why would you take the risk of bringing him back to get injured, do an injury settlement, and move on? It happens all the time in preseason. You put him on the IR at that point, but it's like a waive injured reserve kind of thing at that point, and you just give them a little money and they go away.
Yeah,
I hate to be so casual person in a livelihood, but I mean that's what happens there. So we'll see what happens if he can make that 6 weeks. Maybe he shocks us all, but that's a really uphill battle he's got now to make this roster.
Yeah, a lot of things are going to have to fall in place if he wants to have a job.
Yeah, or other wide receivers being injured.
Yeah,
like perhaps an injury to Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Ooh, segue. Bryce Ford-Wheaton there also got injured during the minicamp there. So his is a shoulder sprain. Recovery time for that is just a few weeks with a grade 1 sprain, but could also take several months for a grade 2 sprain. Obviously, he's still trying to come back from last season's ACL injury as well. Hopefully, it's obviously a grade 1 strain, because that means he'd be ready for training camp if it's just a few weeks. But if it's not, guys, if it's a few months, like that's not good. You got a guy trying to come back from injury, undrafted rookie free agent, so you don't really have much invested in him. Coming out as a project as it was, I think we're about to see, depending on how long it takes for him to get healthy, what the Giants really think of him. Because if they hold on to him, that means they got some high hopes for him, that they think he can be a legit NFL receiver. I'm not going to go crazy and say he could be a star. Like some guys loved his college tape so much, like, oh, he's going to be able to steal the draft and blah, blah, blah. No, he's not. Stop. The guy drops the ball left and right. Like, I swear, like some people put, a little chalk, a little powder on their hands to catch the ball better. He puts like Crisco. Like that ball just slipped right out of his hands. Like, it's horrible. He's a fan favorite there. But I mean, if the injuries linger, that's going to make it very difficult to make that roster there. And it might start giving him, fair or not, because I know people will say, oh, that's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair. But it might start giving him the image and the reputation of being a little brittle and injury prone. You don't get a lot of chances when you're an undrafted rookie free agent. You don't. You got to impress strongly, quickly. And 100%. He's impressed with his physicalness, but he hasn't impressed with some of the other stuff there. He's got the tools physically. He still needs to learn some of the ins and outs of the games there. And if he can't stay on the field, you can't learn that.
No, that's what I said. He's also got to stay available, which he hasn't been able to do.
Yep. Should we say it?
Oh, the best ability is availability.
Oh, yes. And with great power comes great responsibility. I swear, it's like whenever someone gets injured, that phrase comes out. It's like it really is like that version of that phrase is Spider-Man. Like they have to say it.
Have to.
And you're wearing the Spider-Man shirt, so I had to bring it up. Ironic, considering we talked about earlier. But all right, we got another injury here at the wide receiver group there. Darius Slayton also got injured during minicamp there. He hurt himself while hitting the ground to catch a ball from Drew Lock there. He stayed on all fours there for a moment, and they got walked off by a trainer. Coach Brian Dable said he would be ready by training camp, though. So it sounds like this is a kind of a minor injury we don't got to worry about there. They haven't even really announced what injury it was or, what's going on there. So, again, I wouldn't worry about this one. The fact that he walked off on his own means if it was a lower body injury, it's not too bad, which is what you always worry about with the guy like him. It depends on the speed, and obviously wide receivers kind of have to move their legs a little bit. Just
think fast, be fast. Think fast, be fast.
So that's a good sign there. And the fact the coach came out and said that point blank, he doesn't say that unless he's confident, guys. That's not a move you say, oh, he'll be back in training camp, no problem. You don't say that if you don't know what's going on. So while we may not know what the injury was because they're not required to release that to the media, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal and it should be no issue whatsoever. So they're going to obviously sat him out the rest of the camp, but we'll see him starting at the actual training camp there. So no worries there. So let's get into some other kind of workouts here because the Giants did bring in some bodies here to work out there and see what they got left here. Tre Herndon was actually one of those guys. So we already signed him, but we got 3 other guys that we also brought in. So first, the Giants brought in Kellen Deesh. That's one of the names I had to look up to spell for this episode. I would have pronounced for this episode because I would not have gotten Deesh from that. I would definitely not have.
Deesh.
Yeah. Sounds like it was like a fancy mustard. What kind
Do you have any gray poupons?
No, I have some Deesh here. 6'7", 300 pounds, 26 years old. But he does turn 27 in August. Undrafted rookie free agent, originally out of Arizona in 22 by the Dolphins. Played left tackle in college. Was actually projected to be an early third-day draft pick, but ended up not getting drafted at all. Just dropped down and no news why like that when that happens, Spent a lot of times moving around already. Kind of scary. Signed with Miami right after the draft. Was waived August 30th. So he lasted 3 months. Basically just didn't make the team past training camp. Signs with the Bears. Makes their practice squad. And then ends up in their training camp the next season because he signed a future reserves contract there. They waive him at the end of training camp there, August 30th. He literally signs 2 days later with the Steelers for their practice squad. They waived him about a month ago. Claimed off the waivers 2 days later by the Browns and was waived 2 days later for with a failed physical designation. I looked up and scoured for injury, issues at that point there. Nothing came up with any news on what the injury was he had that he failed the, physical for. But obviously that was, again, a few weeks ago. So depending what the injury was, if it was a minor one, they just didn't want to take the risk on. He might be perfectly healthy now. And again, guys, Miami, Chicago, Steelers, Browns, Giants, potentially. We'd be his 5th team. We've been in the league 2 years. And he hasn't played a single snap in the regular season.
Yeah. Definitely do not have high hopes.
Now, what made me go into the mode of looking this guy up was my curiosity on the economics of this. Because you hear about that. Guys who never make the NFL teams, but they go practice squad to practice squad. They make a decent living and make a decent chunk of change for themselves. I looked it up. I'm curious. So in the last 2 seasons, while sitting on the practice squads for the Bears and the Steelers, he earned checks for $423,000.
Ooh.
He also got an additional $140,000 in a signing bonus from the Dolphins because he was a highly sought-after rookie free agent. So he's made $563,000 in the league before even setting a foot on the actual NFL field.
Sign me up.
Seriously. I mean, don't forget, they're still paying fees, taxes, blah, blah, blah. He probably got like 300,000 of that.
Which is still way more than a lot of people out there.
Exactly. He's, and listen, when you're a young guy like that, 27 years old, it's a nice chunk of change if he doesn't make it in the NFL to start your life with, put a ton of money on a house or start a business or whatever. So, I also looked up because I'm curious because, again, he hasn't played in the NFL at all. So we're kind of, going back to his college days, look at tape and stuff like that. Bleacher Report's scouting profile on him coming out of college was this. Overall, Deish's athletic ability, body control, recovery balance, and crafty use of hands allow him to stay attached to blocks at a high level. He will need to clean up his footwork and pass protection to play on an island, and his marginal arm length calls into question his ability to control blocks at the same level he did in college to become a starter in the NFL. Deish is inexperienced enough as a starter that he could continue improving over his NFL contract, but his ceiling is likely as a quality swing tackle. So he only played 2 years at the left tackle position as a starter. He was not a 4-year starter. He wasn't one of those guys. And he was known to be a very good run blocker. So, like I said, I'm kind of curious what they do here because it's weird that teams keep picking this guy up and dropping him, and yet he never sees the field. Like, it's weird. Like, if you see something, why would you not give him a chance to play? But if you don't see something, why would teams keep picking him up?
Yes, both very instant. It's very interesting. Maybe he's got some dirt in Roger Goodell.
Who knows? Somebody's got some dirt on somebody. That's for damn sure. Yeah. So, but also interesting because he's offensive line. All the issue we've had at offensive line, obviously. So, let's get into the next guy we need to work out here with. It's time for the age of Jerquarius, as Appa would say. Jerquarius Spivey. Oh, wrong one there. I got there. I hit the wrong button. There we go. So 6'5", 240 pounds, went to Mississippi State in 2018 to 2020. Then went to TCU 21 to 22, and then went back to Mississippi State in 23. Didn't appear in a single game last year because he was declared ineligible by the NCAA, though he did dispute that decision. Obviously didn't win. He was literally told of it 2 days before kickoff. It was something with the cutoff because he actually graduated college at TCU, but then went for a graduate program at Mississippi State. So he playing. There was just issues they had with dates and stuff like that at that point. So his last year playing was 22 with TCU. 15 games, 11 catches for 136 yards and 1 touchdown. Obviously, I can't see too much on blocking and stuff like that there. There's not a lot of information on this guy, to be honest with you guys. Even just trying to find the pictures here took me forever for the logo thing here at that point. Again, he didn't really play a lot in college. I'm not quite sure why we're so interested in this guy to bring him in for a workout. He was definitely considered more receiving. They actually listed him as a receiver, tight end / receiver. So it wasn't even a full-on big blocking tight end. And when your big strength is catching the ball and you got 136 yards in your last season,
doesn't look so good there.
No, not at all. And he's 6 years at that point into the NCAA system at that point. So I didn't write out his age, but it's got to be like 24 years old or so. It's not like he's like 21. You go, maybe develop him for a year or two. You develop this guy for a year or two, but he's already aged to get out of the NFL at that point. It's like,
just about.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not seeing too much out of that one there. Definitely. We also have another tight end we worked out here, Noah Togiai. So he was been in the league the last couple of years. They're undrafted rookie free agent of the Eagles out of Oregon State. The little Beavers there. Started 4 games. The Colts in 22, and then in 20, and then he was waived injured. Returned to the Eagles in 21, They've kind of going back and forth between their active roster and practice squad there for the last couple of seasons. Appeared in 4 games overall in the last 3 seasons. He did spend part of 23 on the Raiders and the Cardinals practice squads as well before re-signing with the Eagles. So he's been around a little bit there through a few different teams. He still hasn't gotten a single reception in the NFL, and he's been targeted twice in 115 career snaps. Basically, he's been known for a lot of injuries. So he fits right in with the Giants. He's had a lot of injuries.
I'm just fed up.
Yeah, 2 MCL injuries in college alone. So I also looked up to see what they said about him coming into college, because, again, we haven't seen much of him in the NFL. It's kind of hard to get a read on a guy like that that's been 115 snaps in the league in 4 years. BeaversEdge.com, which I love the name of that website, by the way. BeaversEdge.com said about his college career, Togiai's college career might be one of the bigger what-ifs, as who knows just how good he could have been if it hadn't been for the injuries. He did have over 1,000 yards receiving in college. So, again, another guy who's a receiving tight end at that point there. Yeah, so you get 2 tight ends now coming in. And you got to wonder, what's going on? Are we not happy with Lawrence Cager? Because that's what these guys got to remind me of, like a backup receiving tight end. Is this just kind of like, hey, we lost Waller, let's bring in more bodies? We knew we were losing Waller. Like, that's not a shock, right? Like, am I crazy for saying that?
No, that's why you go with Theo in drafts.
Yeah, I mean, we do that a lot. Everybody knew. I still think there was a handshake agreement that Waller didn't retire until after June 1st, so they can split the money. I really do think that. It's just weird how it came out right as June started like that, But yeah, I mean, most of the guys who brought in were blocking tight ends this season, except Theo Johnson. We had Bellinger, we had Cager. We brought in, like I said, we're bringing a couple blocking tight ends. Maybe they just think we're missing. I don't see it. Honestly, none of these guys excite me at that point there. I'm glad we signed the only guy that I was actually curious of the 4 we worked out there this week in Tre Herndon there. So, all right, we got one more bit of news here for you guys before we call it a night here. And we talked about last episode. Former Giants cornerback DeAndre Baker got named to the All-UFL team there. Well, we said, watch out. Could be time for Baker to come back to the league. Cowboys have officially brought in DeAndre Baker for a workout there. And what better team than the Dallas Cowboys for DeAndre Baker to go to at that point? He really fits their MO of bringing people with criminal pasts and all kinds of issues at that point. But I gotta say, this is a guy that if I was any team but the Giants, or maybe the Chiefs, because they have a history with them too as well. Who knows what history they have with him? But I would bring him in. The guy was a first-round talent. He's still young. He's still 26 years old. He's a guy that just showed he's still got something at least in the UFL. Who knows to what degree? But I don't know. I just look at it and go, anybody but the Giants, it makes sense to bring him in and just keep him on a short leash. He shows you any issues, personality-wise, work ethic-wise, you just cut him loose and call it a day. Cut your losses.
Pretty much.
And you can tell him right off the bat, like, you either grow the hell up or you're going to be out.
Or you go home.
Yeah. Like, we're not going to tolerate a damn thing from you, basically, because you're past. I don't think that's out of line to say, considering the stuff he was accused of in the past with armed robbery charges, falling asleep in team meetings, like all kinds of stuff that they said about him. Like, but he's just so physically talented. You're going to take the risk. But you can't let that infect your locker room. You can't.
Yeah.
So
that's literally, you said it the best. It's like, hey, listen, you're on a short leash. Like, you mess up, you done goof, pick up your ball and go home, kid.
Exactly.
You ain't playing here.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's setting that expectation right off the bat. And if he doesn't accept that, that just tells you all you need to know. That tells you all you need to know. Right there. It's like, when somebody makes a mistake in life, they got to own up to it, understand there's repercussions for those mistakes. And he made a lot of mistakes. But because he's very talented at it. Listen, you can say allegedly all you want. I'm not even talking about the armed robbery stuff at that point. I'm talking about point blank what happened with the Giants and his work ethic issues and him not paying attention in meetings at that point. Like, they talked about it even college. I honestly, I was a little pissed off that we even drafted this kid after we heard about him in college. You can get away with that stuff in college.
Yeah, it's an issue.
Once you get back to the NFL, it's a whole other level, guys. It's a whole other level. So,
yep.
So, all righty, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow night. We have another episode coming tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
I know you guys are probably thinking, what the hell? There's like nothing going on for 6 weeks with the Giants. There's always something going on. There's always something. So, always. So, we're going to do a new series here, potentially, with you guys here. We still got to finish up our greatest of Giants players as well. So, we're going to do that at some point here the next couple of weeks as well. I think we only have a couple positions left to go, and I think it was like safety and maybe some special teamers, and that's it, But we also want to do a series here this offseason, started off, and we'll probably have a couple of years to really complete to give you guys all the information we want to go over this. But Where Are They Now series, going over guys that we drafted in the past. Remind you guys what they did with us, what they did in the NFL as a whole, and where they are now. You'd be surprised. The stuff is online, actually. I was trying to call somebody, actually, whose phone number I found online who used to be a center for us. Apparently, his number got disconnected, but it was online. I tried it. We also are talking to a couple of very prominent media members as well about potentially coming on the show here as well. So I don't want to give away specific names. I don't want to put them on blast if their schedule is too busy. They can't make it, but we are talking.
George.
Yeah. Listen, it happens. Those guys are always busy. And listen, as much as there's some people in the media I don't have respect for, and I have no problem saying that point blank, Pat Leonard. Who said that?
What?
But in the end, there are a lot of guys that do, and guys and women, I should say, both genders, that work very hard at that job. And there's not a lot of time off. Same as Rob and I go year round. These gals are all going year round as well. So, we're talking about, like I said, a couple of them potentially coming on as well, because we want to get some insider reports from people that have been around the team a lot more than Rob and I have, obviously, and, hear their thoughts on players, what their thoughts are on the outcome. Also hear a little bit of what got them into the job, because let's be honest, most people would kill for these kind of jobs. So, 100%. All right, guys. So again, we'll be back again tomorrow night there for you guys. As we start one of our off-season series here. We appreciate you guys coming in as always. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile.
Drew's LinkedIn.
Oh, yes. And as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms as well. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, all the big ones there. If you guys haven't already, please hit that little like, subscribe, share button, whatever button you got on whatever platform you're on, guys. And feel free to share it with a friend, guys. That's a lot of how we get growth on this channel here. We haven't ever spent a single dime in advertising. We've depended on help from you guys, which I know sounds lazy of us and probably is, but it is what it is. Before we get going, Rob, you're usually the one who reminds me. What did I forget to do?
You totally forgot to pay the bills, good sir.
Let's pay the bills.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. Buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Can't believe we almost forgot to pay the bills there. Sheesh. All right, guys. Again, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, Giant fans.
Go, G-Man!
Go, G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.